Hey friends, welcome to another video on IMAT. If you are planning to take IMAT to study medicine in Italy, then you need to prepare for IMAT, and for that you need to know about IMAT syllabus. So that's what I will be sharing, a precise, concise, organized syllabus. I will be basically giving you a summarized syllabus on my screen. We will go in a couple of minutes, but before that, let me tell you, every year MIUR Italian Ministry publishes the official IMAT syllabus. That's not different from like every year. It is same. The syllabus is gonna be same. They just add or minimize few chapters. So every year MIUR publishes the syllabus on its website in late May or June. But remember this, I am telling you again, the syllabus gonna be same. So that's what, if you are preparing for IMAT 2026 or maybe 2027, then you need to start with the previous year syllabus. But I'm giving you the topics or the chapters that doesn't change at all. So this is gonna be an official syllabus, but again, the moment new syllabus publishes, if there's gonna be any change, I will be mentioning on Instagram. Of course, I will be making a video, so do follow me on Instagram, imat.nerd. And if you have any questions, you can ask me in the comments. But if you are looking for the detailed IMAT syllabus that MIUR publishes, just go head down to description and put your email address there, and you will get straight in your email. Now let's go to screen and let me share the syllabus. So this on screen, you are seeing the IMAT 2026 syllabus breakdown. Of course, you can follow me on imat.nerd, so you can have all the news and different aspects of IMAT, like questions, discussion, and different live sessions. All the queries you can ask there, and you will have tons of information as well. Then of course you can head over to imat.nerd and you can download past papers, tons of free resources. And here, if you have any queries, you can ask me on email as well. Now this is gonna be syllabus from all subjects. So first we are going with the biology, because biology is a little bit like lengthy. It's most heavy weighted subject, so this is the subject that will be giving you the more questions, and it's a bit lengthy as well. So for in first part, we are going to discuss about cells and genetics. So you are seeing in cell what you need to study. I will be just briefly telling you the syllabus, because in our next videos we will be talking about how to study for each subject. So in there we will be talking about how to study for cell biology, how to study for genetics, what are the most important high yielded chapters. So don't forget to subscribe this channel so you can have all the news. Of course, you will be getting on Instagram as well. Now first, what you need to study in cell. The cell, of course, it involves prokaryotic and eukaryotic differences, and you have to know about plant and animal cells, and there all the organelles and every single thing. Then you have viruses. Viruses is very important chapter. It's little bit, you have to know about characteristics. You need to know about the mode of action of HIV virus and AIDS, because that is very important, and every year they're asking a question from there. And of course, cell membrane is a very huge important topic. If you're following A-level biology, then there will be a separate chapter in there. And cell membrane is very important. You need to know about carrier protein versus channel proteins, how transport is occurring, what are the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic proteins, and what are the different channels, what they are doing, like sodium potassium channels, and what are voltage gated, what are non-voltage gated. So all these things you need to know about there. And of course, there will be lots of information, and we will talk about in our upcoming videos. Then you have cell cycle. In there you have the most important two topics, that is mitosis and meiosis. Of course, you need to know about chromosomal maps, so you can draw them. There is chromosomal theory that you need to know. And of course, in there you will get to know about all the division phases. And then you have genetics. Genetics is very important. Genetics is divided into basically molecular genetics and then human genetics. Basically, in molecular genetics, you need to know about DNA replication, transcription, translation, and all the activities, related activities that occur at molecular level. Then in human genetics, you need to know about all the autosomal and X-linked hereditary diseases, because in there you will be getting a question. You will have to draw pedigree. Pedigree analysis is very important thing. Of course, we will talk about in our upcoming videos. Again, here you can know that Mendelian laws are really important. Law of segregation and law of independent assortment. You need to know about monohybrid crosses, dihybrid crosses, and duplication of DNA. All those molecular genetics is there. Then you have evolution. In evolution, Darwin theory is really important. Darwinism and neo-Darwinism, where you need to know about natural selection and genetic basis of evolution. And Hardy-Weinberg theorem is very important. They have asked questions, and those weren't easy, okay? that involve probability and statistics. So we will talk about in maths what you need to know. So you must have grip on stats and probability as well. All right. Now in second part, we have physiology and bioenergetics. Bioenergetics is really important. First, chemistry of life. You need to know about organic molecules, carbohydrate, proteins, nucleic acid, lipids. So all these will be there. This is very important. Remember this. And water is very important. You need to know about intermolecular forces. That is the part of chemistry basically, but it's very important when we are gonna be studying the water. Okay, then you have enzymes. Enzyme is basically a separate chapter, but it is biomolecule. So in enzymes, you need to know about properties and different mechanisms of action, and its properties are very important. Lock and key model, and you have another model. I forgot that. Do mention in the comments. Then you have anatomy and physiology. Now you might be thinking, oh, this is just like tissues, organ systems, and maintaining homeostasis. That's all. No, basically, anatomy and physiology involved. Just go over from your head to toe. First, you have nervous system. Then you have pituitary gland basically here. All the other glands are there as well. So you have endocrine system. Then come back, you have respiratory system. Then you have cardiovascular system. You need to know about heart. You need to know about anatomy and physiology as well. Remember this. You don't need to go in depth. You will be basically going in depth once get into medicine, and in first and second year you will be studying about anatomy and physiology. But again, at this level you need to, and remember this, you don't need to study anatomy separately, physiology separately. At level of high school, at high school level, it is integrated. Anatomy and physiology are both, you have to study like together. What I'm talking about, let's say if you're studying cardiovascular system, in there you are studying about heart. Now you need to know about heart has 4 chambers. Then there is pulmonary artery. Then there are 4 pulmonary veins, 2 pulmonary arteries, and then you have aorta. So this is basically anatomy, right? And you have like tricuspid valve, bicuspid valve. There are chordae tendineae, inelastic tissues are present which are attaching those bicuspid wall and tricuspid wall to papillary muscles in ventricle walls. Now remember this, ventricle walls basically. So this is question from past, that why blood flow, the blood that has arrived in your ventricle, why it's not going back. First thing, chordae tendineae, and secondly, due to pressure buildup. Remember this, those muscles, basically those inelastic fibers are attaching those bicuspid and tricuspid walls to papillary muscles. The moment pressure will build up, pressure will try to like retract, and that's why those walls will close, and chordae tendineae are holding them. So that's why the wall does not go back into atria and reopen. That's the physiology. So this is what I'm talking about. That was the anatomy of heart. And when it comes to physiology, you need to know in there what is diastole, what is happening in systole. So that's all the physiology. Blood is coming through vena cava into atria, then going into ventricles. When ventricles contract, it will go into lungs and then into your whole body. That is systemic circulation versus pulmonary circulation. You need to know about all of them. That's the one phase I'm talking. You have to study for each and every system. This is what I'm referring here, organ system. And then you have homeostasis. In homeostasis, thermoregulation, osmoregulation. With you need to cover the most important system, which is renal system. In renal, you need to know about all the phases, how blood is basically filtration is occurring. That will involve filtration, tubular secretion, then you will have reabsorption, and in the end urine formation. In urine, you need to know about urea, ammonia, all those things, how much in how much quantity it is being secreted out. This is like everything you need to know. Okay, in bioenergetics there are 2 main things: photosynthesis and respiration. In photosynthesis, light reaction, dark reaction, and then in respiration, glycolysis. This is basically 2 types. Aerobic respiration, I have written separately here. In respiration, you have aerobic respiration. Then you have fermentation process, basically, which is anaerobic respiration, where you need to know about lactic acid formation and your alcoholic formation. So this is what you need to know, and it concludes your biology. And remember, here you have animal tissues as well, where you need to know about all the connective tissues, your muscles and muscles as well, and all the animal tissues. Okay, it's not hard. Blood is also a tissue. You need to study about blood as well. You will have to study about red blood cells and white blood cells, their composition and their function, which is gonna be covered in your respiration basically as well. Oxygen transport and carbon dioxide transport. So this is what you need to know in biology. You need to study for basically IMAT for biology. And remember, biology is very high weighted subject. And remember, this is the summary of syllabus. If you want the detailed PDF, then head down to below description, you can get that. And remember, you have to elaborate it. You need to study each and every topic that this chapter gonna cover. Okay, again, this was the end of biology. Let's have some celebration. And yeah, it was cool, right? Okay, now let's head over to chemistry. Chemistry is second most weighted subject. It's gonna be having 15 questions. That's huge. Biology 23 questions. In chemistry you will be having 15 questions. Okay, in chemistry I won't like go in depth because video is getting pretty lengthy. You have atomic structure, you have periodic table trends. In atomic structures you need to know about like what are isotopes. Isotopes are very important. Okay, they ask basic questions but very tricky questions. Electronic configuration, you need to know about all the shells, how to do electronic configuration. It's pretty easy, it's pretty simple. Again, most students fear from chemistry. It's not hard, it's pretty simple. And then you have periodic table. Periodic table is very important. You need to know about trends, okay, about atomic radius, electronegativity, ionization energy, and then you have electron affinity, all those things. Electronegativity, of course, that is very important. So all the trends in periods and in columns you need to know about, and you need to know about different elements as well, because there are some elements that we have exception in terms of electronic configuration and properties. So you have to know about that. I have got a pretty detailed lecture on YouTube from periodic table. If you watch it, you will have each and every single thing from periodic table. Head over to description. You can watch on my channel, Samikamer, as well. I have uploaded there, or you can have playlist. Just go to playlist. You will be finding a lecture there. Then you have chemical bonds. It's basically 2 hours lecture. Okay, then you have chemical bonds. In chemical bonds you need to know about ionic, covalent, metallic, intermolecular forces. You have got hydrogen bonding, you have dipole forces. All these will be in your intermolecular forces. Then you have stoichiometry. In stoichiometry you need to know about mole concept, Avogadro's number, and balancing chemical equation. That must be a separate chapter, balancing chemical equation. With redox method, and then you have oxidation method. This is reduction method and oxidation method. This is very important. Okay, oxidation reduction is very important chapter. Then you have, because every year there is a question, so I can't like explain much. Then you have gases and states of matter. You need to know about gases, liquids, solids, and little bit plasma, not in detail, but in gases ideal gas law is very important. And then there will be Boyle's law, Charles law, so you must have grip on them. Of course, there are so many subtopics that you need to know. If you are following me on my previous channel, then you must know about them. But of course, you can have a detailed new videos coming. Then in UK, then let's divide chemistry in second part, which is solutions and organic chemistry. Organic chemistry is very easy, but shouldn't fear from it. I don't know why, but in solutions you need to know about concentration, solubility, and equilibrium. There will be the Chartier principle, and you will be having tons of different topics as well. Okay, I won't go into detail. Okay, acid and bases, very important chapter. It's a little bit like this much chapter, but questions are every year in your past papers. 2-3 questions. Previous year 3 questions appear in past paper. Pretty insane, right? Okay, so pH is there. How to calculate pH by using log formula, log method. And then of course you have got salt over acid. And then you have hydrolysis and buffer solutions. Buffer is pretty easy and good because you need to study in biology. Respiration, you need to study it as well. Why and how blood occurs as buffer. Blood is a very good buffer. Then you have redox reactions, oxidation. I told you just oxidation numbers, oxidant and reducers. And you have your balancing redox equations. You have organic chemistry. In organic chemistry, you need to know about every functional group. We start with hydrocarbons. Okay, firstly, what is organic chemistry? In organic chemistry, know about properties of carbon. You need to know about carbon-carbon bonding, structure of carbon, buckyball, and you have diamond. You need to go with from the basics and then go to hydrocarbons, alkene, alkane, alkyne, and then you have benzene. Very important. Of course, you need to know about resonance in benzene, structure, all these sigma, pi bonds, and all those things. And then you have functional groups. In functional groups, alcohols, ethers, amine, carboxylic acid, and you have ketones, you have aldehyde group. In each group, you need to know about their preparation, their reactions, and basic chemical properties, physical and chemical properties. This is very important. Okay. Of course, there will be 2 or 3 questions from whole organic chemistry, but you have to study it. You must know all the basics from organic chemistry. So this is the end of your organic chemistry. Let's have some celebration. Yeah, this is pretty cool, right? Okay, then in physics, questions are like 6 to 7 or 8 questions. But in physics, because physics and maths whole consecutively both like got 13 questions. So from physics, you need to know about kinematics and dynamics. Of course, there will be 2-3 chapters involved. First, you have got in kinematics and dynamics, you must know about velocity, speed, acceleration, distance, displacement in terms of circle. So those are pretty like reasonable. I don't think so those are hard, but it involves formulas and basic concepts, basic definitions that you need to remember. And there are Newton's law of dynamics, first, second, third law of motion, and you have work and kinetic energy. Work and kinetic energy must be a separate chapter. Of course, with kinetic energy, you need to know about potential energy, and with together work energy principle is very, very important. And of course, you need to know about equations of motion. That's pretty like amazing. I guess so, because those were favorite from very, very old IMAT exams. When back Cambridge was making, right? Okay, then you have fluid mechanics, density, Archimedes principle, Pascal principle. Then you have thermodynamics. In thermodynamics, you have heat capacity. Formulas are really important. Calculations are really important. Then change of state and specific heat and law of thermodynamics. Law of thermodynamics are very, very important. 0, first, second law of thermodynamics. First law is very important because it has got its applications that you need to know. And of course, you have electricity and electromagnetism. Now, it is going to involve 4 chapters basically. Okay, first chapter, which is electrostatics. In electrostatics, you need to know about Coulomb's law and all the things that are revolving around Coulomb's law. Okay, you need to know about all the basics like charges and electric field, electric potential, all those basic things that you need to know in electrostatics. Then we will move on to current and electricity. In current and electricity, start with current. What is current? Then what is electricity? Then what is gonna be Ohm's law? Ohm's law is single, very, very important. And then Ohm's law has got its applications that you need to know. And exceptions is very important because it has got exception and they have asked in every past exam. Electrical circuits, series and parallel. In capacitor, you need to know about circuits. And then you have magnetic fields. And in magnetic fields, you have electromagnetism and then electromagnetic induction. In electromagnetism, basics about what is electromagnet, like what is electromagnetism, what are magnets, and then Faraday's law. And then when it go to electromagnetic induction, you need to know about AC generator as well. So this is what you need to study, and this was physics. Although it's very, very summarized, you need to know in very in depth what every chapter is gonna cover. Okay, let's have some celebration. Then we are moving to maths. Okay, in maths, you have algebra, equations, functions, geometry, and probability and statistics, prop and stats. So here we go. In algebra, real, rational numbers, then you have proportion, percentages, and logarithm is separate chapter. And equations, you need to know about first and second degree algebraic equation, inequalities, and system of equations. And then in functions, you need to know about exponential, logarithmic, and trigonometric functions. And then you have geometry every year. And remember, all the chapters that I have got here, basic chapters, I would be saying you need to know about basics, because maths is pretty unique chapter for everyone, because most students don't study in their high school. But if you are preparing, if you can master these 4, of course, don't go in very big detail, just cover the basics. There will be 1 question from algebra, 1 question from equations, 1 from functions, 1 from geometry, and 1 from probability. So this is like done and dusted. How you are going to prepare for it, I won't go into very big detail here, but we will talk about in separate video about how to prepare for maths, and then we will go into details about how you can master each topic. Okay, so this is what you can have, and for detail, just download the PDF from your description. Then we have reading skills and general knowledge. Remember this, it is said reading skills and general knowledge, not just general knowledge, because most students like ask me tons of questions. Sami, how to prepare like general knowledge? Remember, they have changed it. Okay, there are just 4 questions from here, and here they will be asking or judging your reading comprehension. That is the first thing. And then you have vocabulary context, general rules, and civic and institutions. Remember, they have eliminated IELTS exam for students who are taking IMAT. Why? Because IMAT exam in English language, and they are judging all these skills. Okay, all the skills that I have written on my screen, this in your exam. This is how, if you perform good, it means, yeah, you know English. Okay, in reading comprehension, there will be questions requiring understanding and extracting specific information from scientific, non-fiction, and fiction and current affair articles. So they will be giving you 2 questions or 1 question at least from here, and you will have to comprehend it. Then you have vocabulary and context. You must be able to understand specialized or abstract vocabulary in context. Then you have general culture, Italian culture, test knowledge of significant historical and cultural phenomena. This is what they mean by general knowledge. And then you have civics and institutions. There you will have to cover, okay, it will be covering the national and international institutions, economics, and your citizenship rights. Of course, this is very, very vast, and most students can't like do it. You need to do, and how you are gonna do it, you have to follow some resources that I will be sharing in our general knowledge and reading skills separate video. So stay tuned for it, subscribe this, and follow me on Instagram so you can have the news. And now we got logical reasoning. In logical reasoning, there are 2 things. First is your critical thinking, and secondly, you have problem solving. Okay, critical thinking focuses on completing arguments logically and keeping them consistent with given premises. What is premises? Don't worry about it, we will talk about in separate video. But in critical thinking, they wanna test you are good at assumption, like conclusion, assumption. Then you have strengthening and weakening questions, and then you have flaws questions. So if you are good at these, then parallel reasoning is also there. So if you're good at that, that's good. You are gonna be performing really good in critical thinking. Of course, you need to learn like strategies for each one of them and how to solve the questions out of them. Then you have problem solving. In problem solving, you have like there will be premises, maybe verbally or symbolically given to you, requiring you to adopt different forms of logical reasoning to find a solution. Like coding, decoding questions, there will be some figures, there will be some charts, they will be asking you petrol prices are rising, like every year this is these, and so what's your like how it will be like in upcoming year. So based on the trend, you will have to figure it out. It's pretty simple. And they will be asking you, there are 3 rabbits, they are producing, they have 4 child, then they are producing, there are like after 6 months how many rabbits we will be having. This is what problem solving basically means. So this was the end of syllabus. Let's have some celebration, and now let's move on how you can get the PDF. If you want detailed PDF, then head over to description. There will be a link given, click on it and put your first name and your email address so you can have direct access to your email. And of course, don't forget to subscribe this channel. If you have any questions, you can ask on imat.nerd, or you can ask at email info@imatnerd.com. or if you want to explore more resources, head over to imatnerd.com. you will have tons of resources available for you. Different lectures are there. Of course, in next videos we will be having tons of free lectures, we will be having tons of free resources and how to study for each subject. So subscribe for that, and if you have any more questions, head over to imatnerd.com. And remember this, when official syllabus, like in a month or 2 months, official syllabus will be released. If there's gonna be any change, there won't be any, but if there will be any change, I will mention on the article, and of course I will notify you on Instagram, so don't forget to follow there. And one more important thing, if you want to watch the chemistry lecture that is pretty 2 hours long, then you can check out this video. It is basically a live recording of live cohort, like one of the lectures from live cohort. So check this out and see you in next video. Till bye bye.